Welcome back, everyone. Vitality Check podcast. Dr. Sean Landry, Kevin Longpre here today. There is no Jason Turnbull.
He,
He unfortunately had a very important meeting
yeah,
booked on a Monday,
yeah.
where that is forbidden. And so obviously he is out of the group for today.
I think he was going
His
home.
punishment.
He was going home to read A Court of Thorns and Roses, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I
I
think
think
so.
so,
Yeah.
something like
Jen
that.
gave him the book,
Something like that, or
so he was
I
headed
think
home.
Harry Potter. Harry Potter, I think.
Yeah,
Something
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Anywho. We are coming off our episode on breath,
Yes,
breathing, everything
breathing,
breathing,
breathing mechanics,
breathing mechanics. So we kind of went through,
oxygen exchange,
yeah, some easy tips on remembering that slow, easy breath, slow and low,
slow and low.
or low and slow,
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
whatever one you want to go with.
They
We'll
both,
make some t-shirts.
they both work. We should.
We should.
Yeah.
Uh, so coming back on that, just to recap, is we were saying the importance to helping the nervous system recalibrate itself, helping with mobility of the rib cage and the oxygen exchange in the body, which is the biggest thing to helping tissue and regeneration and everything else is the ability, excuse me, or the efficiency of how oxygen is exchanged in the body. And we were seeing that over breathing. So people that tend to be mouth breathers over breathe and then saturate the body with oxygen that remains in the cells because the trigger to allowing that release is actually having some CO2
Mm-hmm.
in there. So slowing your breath count down and calming your breath is what then increases that volume of CO2 in the blood, or sorry, in the cells. And then what happens is then it triggers the release of oxygen to the needed tissues because that's just the way the body works.
Yeah, CO2 is the key that unlocks
Yeah.
oxygen from the hemoglobin. So
Yeah.
you actually need CO2 in the body. Um, so you need to develop tolerance to CO2 in order to unlock the oxygen delivery system. And if you mouth breathe, the
You're
gist of it is
decreasing. Yeah.
you're over breathing. So you're scrubbing the body long term of CO2,
Yeah.
which is funny, right? Because and that's the Bohr effect. So it's the balance between that. It's the CO2 tolerance that so it's having more CO2 will unleash in the body will unleash oxygen.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
basically telling the body it needs oxygen delivered to
To the cell.
the cells and
Yeah.
tissues. And
So
so that's how you can optimize oxygen exchange.
so learning to breathe low and slow, right? Not the hyperventilation breathing,
Yeah.
which can be used for different aspects of therapy, right? But ultimately, that's not the way that you want physiologically your body to respond, right?
Yeah.
You want to, breathe light to breathe right, breathe low to breathe and breathe low, breathe slow, and that just this nice natural in and out. Jason actually mentioned in that podcast that 12 to 20 breaths per minute, but some of the elite athletes will
Oh,
actually
that's
have like
way lower.
nasal, like four
Yeah.
in a minute. They're doing four
Easy breaths. Yeah.
in and out. Like that's pretty insane. So just picture this beautiful, gentle wave that's happening.
But again, look at the training involved in developing that
Hmm.
capacity, right? So,
Yeah.
remember in the beginning when you do this type of thing, it's normal that you start to slow your breath down. What's the number one thing you think people usually would say is that they panic.
Hmm.
They think they're not getting enough air because they're convinced if they don't breathe heavy that they're not going to survive. So that goes into a little bit of what we're going to talk about today is it's it's not only to help with oxygen exchange or gas exchange, proper gas exchange in the body, it's also the development of tolerance to stress because that's one of the biggest stressors is the
Hmm.
lacking of oxygen in the body or thinking that, right? So
Yeah. So
it's
today's podcast is all about nervous
yep.
system, stress, and posture,
Yeah.
and the links, and how your body reflects your life and what's going on in your life.
Mm,
So the environment. I often say that your body, is in direct relation with the cast, the mold that is your life, both internally and externally.
yep.
So this is super important.
Like it becomes a mirror of the perception you have of what's going on
Hmm.
in your life right now, or for a while, obviously.
Yeah. And an easy way to dive into this is
Yeah.
we were talking about this before, but have you ever noticed yourself and your posture when you're stressed?
Hmm.
What takes place, right? And so stress is fight or flight. Stress is, it's the body's response to either run and or fight, right?
Hmm.
So what happens to your posture when right? And I'm sure you've all experienced this, right? You kind of close in and you lock down and you harden,
Yeah.
right? So
Or
in
you see those ones that blow up like they're holding their breath, right? They
yes,
just stop breathing.
exactly.
So
So
there's
the
so many reactions to,
postural
yeah,
reactions and changes to that stressful response or that stress response.
yeah.
But yeah, typically it would be yeah, that shoulders rounded forward, the neck moves forward,
Hmm.
short, shallow breathing. And you're breathing up into the chest, right? It's rapid breathing. Think like a dog panting. Shallow, right? You're not breathing deep. You're breathing just short, shallow, quick breaths. Your jaw tightens,
Yeah.
right? Coming back to our previous two episodes, right? The TMJ, right? So stress response. Your back gets stiff. And if you're always in this position or
Yeah.
always in this fight or flight state with our modern lifestyle, imagine you're just hardening over time,
Yeah.
right? So gravity's bringing us down, pun intended, and we become hardened with life.
Yeah.
And if you're not breathing efficiently, as we just said, you're not getting proper oxygen to the tissues. So inversely, then the tissues are hardening because they need oxygen,
Yeah.
right? So think about even like a callus or something that if there's tissue damage, well, you have disorganized fibers and cells, and you're not getting proper just perfusion of those tissues. And then
Hmm.
on top of that, you're not breathing well, right?
Yeah.
So you're not gonna. So then tissues get fibrotic, and then they get calcific because they
Yeah.
don't have, right. The tissues actually change over time. So the whole body's going through this, like we say, this cast, this molding,
Yeah.
right? Just
And
hardening itself.
it does take the number one thing again is awareness and concentrating a little bit on like what happens to me when I'm in those situations. What is my go-to? What are my mechanisms in place that I always do when a stressful thing happens? Or am I even doing that in non-stressful situations because I'm so used to doing it?
Is it a patterned
It's become
response,
a habit.
a habit, right?
So, like any habit, breaking it can be quite difficult. Again, it requires your attention to how you're feeling, how your body's positioning itself. Am I breathing properly in this? Why is it that I block my breath every time something stressful happens and I'm hardly breathing at all? Like so then it's incorporating it in it. Getting
So,
comfortable with that uncomfortableness is one of the keys to breaking that type of pattern if it's become automatic.
so understanding the way that, again, the yin and yang of life and
Yeah.
stress response, right? So we talked about the fight or flight, but the
Yeah.
inverse is the parasympathetic,
Yeah.
which is rest and recovery, feed and breed. And so you've probably noticed if you're in a super relaxed state, how easy it is to breathe,
Hmm.
right? You're controlled, right? You're not short of breath or out of breath. You're not, hyperventilating or panicked, you know, and I always say we were joking about we both have dogs. So like, think when a dog is like stressed and ready to defend or, fight or flight versus
Yep.
when a dog is super comfortable, they roll on their back and they open up the vulnerable parts of their body
Yeah.
for a belly rub, right?
Yeah. That's like the sign that they're really at ease, right?
Yeah, at ease. And
Yeah.
that's a parasympathetic. That's a
Yeah.
happy, well-loved, balanced dog, right?
Yeah.
So that's exactly what happens, or the inverse, So understanding these two states is important to then make the changes that that you need to do.
Excuse me.
So yeah, relaxed muscles, digestion happens better when you're in that parasympathetic state.
I like the way.
Healing happens when you're in the parasympathetic state, right? Your body actually has time, right, to
Yeah.
heal itself, right? You're in a state, like you say, you're in that happy, relaxed, calm,
Mm.
restful state.
You brought up something good too. I liked about obviously the sympathetic versus parasympathetic. So we have two states that we flip-flop in. Uh, quite often more people are stuck in the sympathetic state. They're just conditioned that way. There's a lot of stimulus around us. There's a lot of things occupying our attention. So we rarely take the time to bring ourselves into the other state to repair ourselves properly. So to
Hmm.
condition the body to go to that other state so that it also remembers, oh yeah, I can't spend all my time over here. Then there's that observation of like what you said is in that state, that stressful state, what am I doing? What's my reaction to that? Right.
Hmm.
So it's important to start noticing that. It's like I was just thinking of like when you go to a spa, like and you're in a warm pool, and then you get out of the warm pool and you go into a,
The
a
cold
freezing
plunge.
cold one. So what's your reaction in the freezing cold stressor versus the warm one? So the comfort zone versus the uncomfortable zone. So teaching yourself to calm down and breathe in the uncomfortable is very important to conditioning the nervous system to have some tolerance,
Some flexibility.
some flexibility
Yeah.
to stressors.
Yes.
If not, we stay in the comfort zone, and then the reaction in the uncomfortable is greater.
Hmm.
We have less capacity to deal with it.
Yeah, you're actually, it's called facilitation, right? So you're
Yeah.
facilitating these neural pathways.
Yeah.
And so instead of having, let's say like a drawn out response, the response time like halves and then halves and then halves, right? Because, and this can be for anything, right? So it can be, your emotional response to something, right? It's just they're adaptations over time that become, that the threshold becomes lower and lower in order
Yeah.
to tip you over the edge.
That's right.
So I think you said it. So the key to all of this, and we might sound repetitive, is just being aware of, okay, how do you feel?
Mm.
Right? So how do you feel physically if you're in that sympathetic response, that fight or flight? And what emotion brought you there? What are you so physically feeling and emotionally living, right? What state is, or emotion brought you to that place?
Yeah. It's usually the same one or same ones
Yes,
that
probably a
that
few.
are maybe more triggering for you.
So noticing those two
Yeah.
things, and because like we said, it's exactly that. Your posture will predict and influence your nervous system, and vice versa. Your nervous system will
Yeah.
predict and influence your posture. So
Hmm.
they're so linked, and multiple practitioners will kind of, give you doorways, because you can influence your nervous system just by the way you stand through your
Hmm.
posture, right?
Yep.
And vice versa. You can influence your posture just by how you think, feel, right, and connect with your body,
Right.
right? So,
Well,
um,
that's a very good point because what you're really doing is changing your frequency, right? Like you're by changing the way you're viewing things, changing the way you're feeling, uh, in in f- in regards to
towards
an
something.
event or trauma or whatever it is, right? Well, then you're actually changing the vibration you have in face of something. So then usually what happens is now you're going to have the capacity to start changing the things that are happening around you as opposed to being the victim of certain things around you.
Yeah,
You're letting this thing dictate how you feel and how you vibrate. Whereas
instead of you dictating.
practice, it takes practice and it's normal that something significant happens. You're going to have that reaction. You're going to, then now you're going to start noticing because we're telling you like, pay attention.
Yeah, what's my breathing doing?
Yeah. Okay. Can I calm that
Is
down?
my
Oh,
body
yeah, I can. All right. Okay.
tight?
So then it's like you're showing your body, okay, I can actually be okay in the face of this. Doesn't
Who's
mean you don't handle it or you're ignoring it. It just means like I can go about doing it in a different vibe than I was before, which will increase the odds of things moving in a
working
better
out?
direction. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess an analogy you could use would be the reframing or changing the lens that you see
Yeah.
the
Really good.
obstacle and or the response to the obstacle through.
Yeah.
So you're the one that's in charge, right? And as soon as you learn that, then yeah, you
It's like a
understand.
game changer.
It is a game changer
Yeah.
because you understand how quickly you can. And again, we're human. You're going to have these
Oh, yeah.
these reactions to things, and it's actually it's essential part of the human journey in life. But it's the moments in between. How can you collect yourself? How can you be connected to the experience, like live it, feel it, let it go, right? And
And there'll be moments where you could be 20 minutes into a reaction
mhm.
But even then, noticing it then is not a mistake. It's not a failure. It's not a, I didn't do it right. It's, oh yeah, I realize how ingrained this is in me.
Yeah.
All right, let's take charge, bring ourselves back again. All that is like Sean was saying, it's conditioning the body to kind of uh, go about things in a different way through a different lens, looking at things from a different perspective is often what's required to change the density in the matter. So that's usually why things stay stuck is because of the vibration's the same. You're not going to
Hmm.
change the density of the matter with the same vibration. So
Yeah. So be aware,
yep.
and then, be aware of our modern everyday lifestyle and how difficult it also can be to
Mm,
either tap in or tune into these emotional responses and or the physical environment that you're creating, right? So
yeah.
like long hours of sitting, right? Because it's just gonna,
Mm,
if we say they're both linked, right? Posture, breathing, and the nervous system response, right? And your emotional, your mental state and your emotional state, be aware of your physical state, right?
yeah.
Can I optimize my workstation? Can I move? Can I get outside, get fresh air, get sunlight, get out of
Hmm.
out of these artificial lights? Can I move my body? Right? You actually need to
Yep.
move your body day in, day out, right? Um, and it's amazing because these they go hand in hand, right? You start to do a few of these things, and oh wow, my emotional state's better, right? And so on and so forth. So it's just simple things, right?
Noticing that if that, the body, you're having difficulty with that, the body moving and it's always stiff and it's always that, there's a probably a good chance that it's because your perspective is stuck.
Hmm.
You have the blinders on and that you're only seeing things through one lens. Uh, Allow yourself that capacity to kind of view things from a different perspective. To when you start doing that, then it starts opening yourself to different types of viewpoints, so that you can start to see, okay, wow, wait a second, I was really rigid
Yeah.
in the way I was thinking, which leads to rigidity in the cells in the body. And
I have a fun one. So we were just on vacation, right, recently, and this one I always remind myself when I come back from vacation and visiting a new part of the world and or whatnot, and spending time with friends and family and the kids and experiencing new things. And it's like you come back to quote unquote your daily grind, your daily routine. So I always kind of invite this as I come back to whatever our like, and we're pretty lucky, right? We're very lucky. Remind ourselves that we're very lucky. And but it's an invitation of spontaneity because when you're traveling, everything's new. You don't care which road you walk down,
mm,
right? So,
mm,
but when we come back to the daily grind, we kind of get stuck in these ruts, patterns, habits, right?
yeah,
Habitualized patterning. That's the way, that's the way everything happens over time.
yeah,
Because we got to rush here, we got to get there. So it's like an invitation to, you know, because we live in a pretty cool place. People from
yep,
around the world come here to experience what we get to experience day in, day out. So it's like, it's so funny. Like we have that spontaneity here. And when you openly invite that,
mm,
post vacation, you start to see things a little differently. Your lens starts to change a little differently. You're like, oh, maybe I'll take this road home today.
mhm,
Oh, I didn't notice that was there. That's pretty cool. So, anyways, I always try and do that post vacation is to say, okay, well, how can I bring that same feeling, thinking, and lens that you have, and we all have it, I
yep.
know, like, into my daily life, right?
Great point.
So, and that again, indirectly will affect the way that you move through life, right?
Mm.
If you're
Opens possibility.
you said the word open, right? Open
Mhm.
posture, right? So like this, oh, that's cool, right?
Yeah,
You're open to new things. You're open to new possibilities
yeah,
and so that's a little kind of challenge for all of us, How can we invite that same feeling of when we
yeah.
go on vacation into our everyday grind? Anyways, that's
Awesome.
it for us today. So, just be aware of
Yep,
how linked your posture and your nervous system and your breathing is. That's why we started with the TMJ, went to the
yep.
breathing, and now we're into the stress response posture.
So put some of that into practice, and we'd love to hear from you
Yeah,
if you guys, well, one, discover something about yourself. Two, notice something that's extremely difficult while it's available as well. It's just to help you guys out. But yeah, just remember there's all these ups and downs in life, and you're going to always need the capacity to deal with the ups and downs, right? Knowing full well any down is leading you back up into something higher. So uh, it's uncomfortable when you go through change and things. So just remember that, allow your system to get used to it, and just so that you can go through it with a little more resistance and
Resiliency. Yeah.
resiliency. Sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Freudian slip there. And that's it. So,
Awesome.
guys,
Have a wonderful week.
yeah, we'll talk to you next week. Ciao.